All right, so we're going to look at the different number of solutions we could have when solving an equation. So we're going to solve each of the following examples, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to slide over here. So this first one, we're going to go ahead and solve it. And if you notice, this one's a little different because when we look at where our variable is at, we actually have it in two different places. So we have an x here and an x here. So we want to get our variable onto one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 3x from this side and subtract 3x from this side. So the reason I'm subtracting that one is because 3 is smaller than 8. So I'm going to have a positive number left. And we have to subtract the whole group because they're connected. They're bonded together right now, that 3 and that x. So we have to move it as a group. So we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. What that will give us is this. We're going to have 8x minus 3x means we're going to have 5x. We still have that minus 4 equals, those cancel, and then we have a positive 1. So now this is a normal two-step equation. So then we can go ahead and do the next step. So if I look at where my variable is, now I only have one variable. I have the 5 and I have that minus 4. The minus 4 is the furthest, so we're going to do that first. So because we're subtracting it, the inverse is to add 4. So we're going to add 4 here and add 4 here. So that is going to give us 5x, those 4's cancel, equals 5. So we get 5x equals 5. Now, the 5 and the x, because they're connected and they're squished together, we know that they're being multiplied. To undo multiplication, we're going to divide both sides by 5. And that is going to give us x by itself, x equals, and then 5 divided by 5 is 1. So we get x equals 1. So our answer, our value of our answer is x equals 1. X can only be 1 to be the correct answer. No other number is going to work. So for this, there is only one solution. So we're going to add this as the title here. And this is generally what we would see. This is the most common. These are the examples we have done so far. But there are a couple other things that can happen. So we're going to go through those. So we're going to go to the middle one. We're just going to slide over. And we're going to start it the same way. So if we look at where our variables are at, I have an m over here and an m over here. So I want to get them to the same side. So I'm going to subtract 2m from this side because there's 2m, and to get rid of 2m, I have to subtract 2m. And then I have to subtract 2m from this side. When we do that, 2m minus 2m is just 0. That goes away. Okay, so we have positive 3 equals, we still have that 3, and then positive 2m minus 2m, well, that also goes away. So now we have 3 equals 3, and our variable disappeared. Okay, so I want you to write something here. Our variable is gone. Okay, so this is different from when we checked our solution. When we're solving it and our variable disappears, that's a big deal. So then we have to look at this right here. Does that make sense? Does positive 3 equal positive 3? Since it does, we can plug in any value for m, and it will be a true statement, which means all values are true. So all numbers work, which means there are infinitely many solutions. So infinitely many, and we're going to just do solutions. Okay, so I could plug in 3 for m. I could plug in negative 267 for m. I could plug in 36.723 for m. All of those will work. Okay, and the last one, I'm going to go over here. We have another equation. We have w plus 7 equals w minus 32. So again, our variables in two different places, so we want to get it to one side of the equation. So we're going to go ahead and subtract w from here because there's only one of them. So we're going to just subtract 1w and then subtract 1w from here because we have to subtract the same amount from both sides. And we are subtracting because right now they are positive. Then we're going to get something else that's weird. So w minus w, those cancel out. So we get positive 7 equals w minus w, well, those cancel out. And we get negative 32. So our variables disappeared. Okay, so again, we're noticing our variable is gone. Okay, so these two are strange because our variable ended up disappearing. Okay, that is strange. Now here, we're going to ask ourselves, is this a true statement? Is this true? Does 7 equals negative 32? It does not. That is not a true statement, which means there is no number that we could plug in for w that will make this true. There are no values that work for this equation, which means there is no solution. Okay, so if you are solving an equation that looks like this, you would write down no solution. Okay. If you are solving an equation where you get infinitely many solutions, you would write down infinitely many solutions. You're not going to leave it as 3 equals 3. You have to interpret that and show us that you know what that means. If you get one solution, tell us what that one solution is. X equals 1. That's your answer. Okay? So those are the different types and numbers of solutions that we can have.